What's up, you guys? It's the Wrestling Old Head, and I'm here to break down WWE WrestlePalooza 2025, which happened last night in Indianapolis, Indiana. That marked the very first time that WWE held an event on an ESPN platform. Now, before I get into that, wrestling is a very subjective thing. Of course, a couple of objective things to note in professional wrestling, but for the most part, it is very subjective. So before I get into my review, I welcome you. Let me know in the comments what you thought of WrestlePalooza, and of course, what you thought of my review of WrestlePalooza. You can leave it down in the commentary section below. If you enjoy this video, please make sure to go ahead and hit the thumbs up and go ahead and hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell to be notified of when the Wrestling Old Head, that's me, drops from the portal of pro wrestling to give you his thoughts, opinions, and theories on the wrestling business. We're doing AEW, we're doing WWE, and occasionally we're going to drop in with some of the other promotions, including AAA, MLW, TNA, and a host of other professional wrestling promotions. I also have a review somewhere down in my videos, a review of Absolute Intense Wrestling, a company out of Ohio that I was able to attend, and I look forward to attending more shows from them in the future. Now, with all of that out of the way, let's talk WrestlePalooza. Now, getting out of the way that when WWE does these sort of events like Saturday Night Live or their Netflix debut, they have it in this nicely wrapped package. It is all very similar in form. There's the video package, there's the together, then, now, forever video package. There's all of these different things that they like to dress up the promotion with, which I believe is standard for the types of production values, the type of money that is involved in this. So it really doesn't bother me that much, but I can understand why a lot of people would be thrown off by their wrestling being dressed up in this manner. With that being said, we did open up with a very important match. It was Brock Lesnar against John Cena. Now, little did I know going into this match how much of controversy this match would have, apparently. I mean, we all know about Brock Lesnar, and that is for you guys to Google to find out all of those, the accusations, etc., right? So I understand that with Brock Lesnar. But as far as the match being a little under 9 minutes and the type of style that it was left with so many varying opinions, and very few people really enjoyed that match. I mean, from what I was able to see, maybe it's just my Twitter feed, maybe it's just the content creators that I view online, but I'm going to tell you, I actually enjoyed it. Like, I didn't really have a problem. Like, John Cena is Superman, right? He is the Caped Crusader, which is Batman, but you know what I'm saying. He is the superhero of the WWE, and he has been for an entire era. Brock Lesnar is his doomsday. Brock Lesnar, I think he only has one victory over Brock Lesnar through their entire feud, their entire storyline program. I believe there's only one singles pinfall victory, and please fact check me, leave it down in the comments if I have that wrong, because I'm going off the top of my head here, and I believe Michael Cole had mentioned that in commentary at WrestlePalooza, but again, I may be wrong, so please fact check me if that's true. I mean, of course there were tag matches, but I'm speaking specifically for the singles matches here. So John Cena has always had a fear of Brock Lesnar. He is the boogeyman. He came out looking in better shape than he has ever looked. You know, people want to say what they will about how he got in that shape. I get it. Hey, I get it, guys. And I know why a lot of people dislike Brock Lesnar. I understand that as well. Me personally, and this may be a controversial opinion, I choose to separate the person from entertainment. And I know that to some that can seem rude. I know that can feel like people will get offended by if you say something like that. But when I listen to music, when I watch movies, when I watch professional wrestling, and there's a lot of instances in professional wrestling where you really have to turn off your brain when looking at a human being that's in the ring because of some bad stuff that has happened or that they have done previously. Professional wrestling has a lot of instances in that, some that people know and some that they don't know yet, but they may find out later. And I don't mean to be a doomsayer with that, but that's just the truth, okay? So when people look at Brock Lesnar, they immediately look at those accusations, and I think it plays a factor into how they view his content, and that is okay, and I understand that. I sympathize with those people because I understand why they're that way. But for me, entertainment is about shutting that off and just viewing it, at least as far as I'm concerned, and enjoying the entertainment for what it is. So I choose to do that. So when I look at Brock Lesnar, he's hated. No different than when you look at Logan Paul, and he's hated. And we know all of the things that he has gone that he has gone and done in his career outside of professional wrestling. So when he comes into professional wrestling, it's very easy to hate him. When you look at Brock Lesnar, the imposing figure that he is, I just look at him as the entertainer Brock Lesnar, not the Brock Lesnar that goes home after this, not the Brock Lesnar that's out and about partying or doing whatever he's doing. This is the Brock Lesnar I look at, the beast incarnate, the character that they have presented in front of us through the vessel of the human being that is Brock Lesnar. So with that being said, the way that this match has played out, or was played out, was exactly how I figured it would. And if you go and look at my predictions video, I spoke about how I can see John Cena winning here, but more than likely we're going to get Brock Lesnar winning. And that's exactly what happened. Brock Lesnar took the win here in a very much squash, or I guess it wouldn't be a squash because there was some offense from John Cena, but it was definitely a one-sided affair. It works out that way because John Cena coming out with the kids, every time he comes out with kids, he ends up losing, which is hilarious to me. But, he's playing the sympathetic figure. There were kids in that crowd legitimately crying, and the cameraman, the production guy, made a point to look for those kids in the crowd and accentuate that big point. That is the point that is going to lead to the rematch in which John Cena finally conquers Brock Lesnar. I believe at the end of that, there will be a shaking of hands between John Cena and Brock Lesnar. I think it's going to be a show of respect. I don't believe that they would have brought Brock Lesnar back just to have him lose in his first match back and not have a rematch. It wouldn't make sense for John Cena to just beat Brock Lesnar that easily and not have anything else on the other side of that. I do believe that Gunther is going to play a role in John Cena's final match, or one of his final matches, and then he's going to move on to a Brock Lesnar. I think if you look at the way that Gunther has been built up thus far with victories over CM Punk, which was not televised, by the way. This was when Gunther was the undisputed champion, or world champion, rather. And he beat CM Punk, non-televised, of course. He does have a win over Randy Orton. He has a win over AJ Styles. He has a win over Goldberg, in that match being his retirement match. I believe he then gets a victory over John Cena and then goes on to wrestle Brock Lesnar and more than likely beats Brock Lesnar. I think that is how you effectively build up the future top villain or top guy in the WWE in Gunther. And I believe Gunther politically, I think he plays his cards really well, and I think that is the guy that is going to be led into the future of the WWE. He has earned it. The type of guy that he is in the ring and out of the ring is perfect for the WWE, and I think they're going to pass that proverbial torch to Gunther. As far as the match goes, like I said, I enjoyed it. I didn't have a problem with it. I wasn't expecting Brock Lesnar to go out and do anything less in this form of content. He is going to come out there and he was going to pummel John Cena, and John Cena was going to try his hardest to fight. And now John Cena is going to probably go away and train really, really hard and come out as Super Cena, the Super Cena that Ron Cena, aka R-Truth, was hoping that we would get. And I think John Cena finds a way to get the victory. I think that's the way that it works, and that's the way that it's going to work, and we all should have seen that coming. 11 years after their SummerSlam 2014 match, I think we should have expected to see that very thing. Now, if the WWE does not pivot, we could get one of the most logically booked war games in a long time, aside from the Bloodline Civil War, of course, with Brock Lesnar, Drew McIntyre, Seth Rollins, Braun Breaker, and Bronson Reed against CM Punk, John Cena, Cody Rhodes, and the Usos. And I'm sure they could find a way to insert Roman Reigns in that as well. maybe have Jimmy or Jay be replaced with Roman Reigns, an injury or something like that. I'm sure they can find a way to stick Roman Reigns in that if Roman Reigns chooses to be available. Could you imagine if that was War Games? And I've seen other content creators talk about this idea of War Games and bringing Brock Lesnar into the vision as that insert into War Games. There are just so many storyline tie-ins between those 10 guys. You can plug in all the different types of stories that we have seen over the years. Seth Rollins and Jey Uso, Jey Uso and Drew McIntyre and CM Punk, Braun and Bronson and the Usos, John Cena and Seth Rollins, John Cena and Brock Lesnar and Seth Rollins, Brock Lesnar and CM Punk, Drew McIntyre and Cody Rhodes. I mean, you can just plug in all of these different storylines, all overlaying, all being progressed over time, and put them all in War Games, and it makes the most sense. Now, WWE doesn't always go that route. This is a complete theory on my part and a few other content creators that I've seen, but I had the same light bulb idea as well. So if they go that route, great. If they don't and they choose to go another route, well, I just don't see the vision, pun intended. And speaking of the vision, Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker defeated the Usos in tag team match where LA Knight was the special guest referee. LA Knight being a late addition and a surprise as the special guest referee, I thought was a nice touch. It was a way to get him involved where we don't have to expect to see him in some form or another get involved and possibly play a part in the end of the Usos run, and then they lose, and then Jay and LA Knight again still have that tension between each other. I think it was really well done to do that. LA Knight letting everybody just go and do their own thing was cool, but I think when you do that, sometimes there's like a cognitive dissonance, if you will, between the performers where they're not sure if they should do their standard tag match or if they should break the rules. And I think that causes a little bit confusion, which is fine because I get it. It's like, you know, you're used to running a normal tag team match and then all of a sudden you're thrown into this world of just no DQ. So I get that. I understand that. As far as the match goes, these guys have great chemistry. Everybody involved has been working together a lot lately, and I think one of the things with the repetition of Raw, which some don't like, I personally am not a fan of the repetition of Raw. It's like the same old, especially towards the top of the card. And other companies like AEW do this as well, where they just keep working these guys together in a program. But I think it's to do with the fact that there's no house shows, so they have to get their reps together. So when you see them on this big stage, like a PLE, for instance, you see that there has been a chemistry built because of the amount of work that they have done together throughout the weeks, months on Raw or SmackDown even for that instance. So you see the payoff when it's like they work together, and of course it can become repetitive and viewers can become like used to that and kind of fall out of paying attention a lot of the times, which I get. But when you see the fruits of their labor in the ring on a big event, it shows. It's like, well, thank goodness they've been working together because they're tightly woven into this program and they're hitting all their beats and they're making very little mistakes, right? And it's like they know what to do next. And so that's awesome. And I think that these guys are great examples of what happens when you work together a lot. You know, you start to pick up, you know, the idiosyncrasies, you know, and you fall into this sequence. All that being said, the Vision get the win here. LA Knight continues to have some problems with the Usos, and we'll see what happens with that. LA Knight is, again, someone that could be added to the War Games situation as well. Jey Uso and LA Knight. You can definitely do that, and then maybe have Roman Reigns make a return towards the end of this War Games match. I really hope they go with the War Games idea because out of all the fantasy booking ideas, that is the most logical step to take this. Whether or not they have Brock Lesnar and John Cena again at Crown Jewel is up in the air. I don't know how big they want to stack Crown Jewel. But I definitely think that War Games is a great idea. Sorry to harp on that, but it kind of played into this Vision Usos idea. And so now moving on for the vacant Women's World Championship for the WWE, Stephanie Vaquer defeats Io Sky. To me, match of the night, might be match of the weekend, might be a candidate for match of the year. These two have had 2 matches previously that I know of that have been in no contest, double disqualification, interference, whatever. They could not finish their match. There was no decisive winner. So they go in with this idea of finally getting a winner, and not only a winner, the top prize on the Raw brand for the women. These two have amazing chemistry as well. And I don't know if it's because of those 2 matches. I don't know if they train together, but they are in sync in such a way. I was such a great fan of this match. I am a big fan of Io Sky. I don't know why there are some detractors for Io Sky. Jim Cornette included seems to have an issue with Io Sky, but maybe he is just jaded based on what he's seen from specifically the Japanese women that have come and been imported from Japan, and maybe he just has an issue with that. I have no idea. Maybe it's the language barrier, whatever, but you cannot deny the skill that she has in the ring. She is one of the best wrestlers, period, in professional wrestling, and I believe that's a high accolade. Like I said, wrestling is a very subjective thing. I believe that to be objective. I do. Io Sky is one of the best wrestlers in professional wrestling, and Stephanie Vaquer is right there step by step with her in every form. Stephanie Vaquer truly cares about professional wrestling. She is passionate about this sport, and she is interested in taking complete control of her talent and moving up the ranks by challenging herself. Now remember, Stephanie Vaquer could have come in with a main roster debut. She decided to go to NXT, and she has worked her way up. She has climbed that ladder to show that she deserves it, not that she was being gifted everything. And she has worked really, really hard to earn this championship win. I had no idea that she was going to win. In fact, because of her absence from television, I just assumed we would get Io Sky winning here. But because of the fact that she works her as hard as she is, and because of what's going to go on at Crown Jewel, you know, with the champions from each brand battling for the Crown Jewel championship, that kind of spoils it a little bit and puts Stephanie Vaquer in the front seat there. I do believe we get Rhea Ripley and Io Sky, and then we get Stephanie Vaquer and Tiffany Stratton there. And so with that being said, this was a phenomenal match. I think the right person went over, and I'm very, very proud of the fact that Stephanie Vaquer got to have that moment with her father. Me being a father of 2 daughters, it was a beautiful experience to see Stephanie Vaquer get to share that moment with her father in attendance. And speaking of that, The Undertaker does come out. A little bit of a preamble here where he comes out on the motorcycle to his American Badass theme, and Stephanie McMahon is in the crowd. Nick Khan is somewhere looming around very close by. We don't find that out until later. He sits in the ringside chair next to Stephanie McMahon and does a bit of, stand-up comedy, just kind of riffing with Stephanie McMahon here, and we don't know where it's going. Undertaker then reveals that Stephanie McMahon is going to be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame year 2026. And Stephanie McMahon legitimately looks surprised. And she fights back tears. She gets very, very emotional. And I honestly got teared up a little bit watching it. And the only reason why is a very similar reason to Stephanie Vaquer and her father, which is that, this is something that she has been doing her entire life. Before she was able to fully get a job, she has been backstage with the WWF. So I think she has been involved in things that we don't even really know what she's been involved in. I mean, we hear the reports, we hear the titles that she's given in the front office, but we really don't know exactly what she's had a hand in. And I respect the fact that she has been given those titles, and I haven't heard anything bad about her. Like, I haven't heard any rumors of her using her power. I haven't heard her, being a villain backstage or whatever. She has used her power to help inspire and bring people up, from what I was able to assume. Like I said, we don't know what goes on behind the curtain, but I've heard nothing of the sort. It is very interesting that they're putting Stephanie McMahon, Paul Levesque into the Hall of Fame as fast as they are. Maybe they see something down the line that we don't see. Not sure what's going on there. Very interesting who will induct her. Obvious choice is Paul Levesque here. Is Vince going to show up? It's a question that we should all be asking ourselves here. I know it's the elephant in the room. It really is. But is Vince McMahon going to be showing up? I believe that's a question for another day. CM Punk, moving on, we're going to move on to the tag team, mixed tag team match here. CM Punk and AJ Lee defeat Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch. These four had a lot of fun. This was a fun match. They were having fun in the ring, and I believe the energy was fed off by us viewing this. I haven't seen a lot of bad reviews of this match. This was really fun. This was a lot of fun, and you can tell that all four people had a great time in this match. They all got to have a good time. Now, CM Punk and Seth Rollins, I felt were being a little too silly at times. I mean, this is essentially a blood feud, a forever feud between these guys, but they were definitely playing it light in this match. But the story that played out, I think, was really well done. The mind games between Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins, fending off AJ Lee from getting in the ring, knowing that she is rusty, that she hasn't worked in a decade, so giving her maybe she warmed up backstage. The idea was that by the time we get done with your husband, you won't be as fired up and you'll have to work to catch up, right? But AJ Lee came in, didn't miss a beat, bounced off those ropes, and was knocking everybody down, which I thought was interesting. I love the fact that they were interacting with, like AJ Lee was interacting with Seth Rollins and had him in the corner a couple times, and CM Punk had Becky Lynch in a sharpshooter. It was like they teetered on that line between having one of the men battle one of the women, but they didn't really go full into it, which I thought was nice, because in a mixed tag match, the rules in the WWE are that when a woman is tagged, then the other woman from the opposing side must get in the ring and vice versa, but in this scenario, they crossed that line a little bit and they didn't go too far, like I would have thought we would have seen like Seth Rollins do something to AJ Lee post-match to make it more serious, but they didn't go there. They can always go there later on down the line. Imagine the heat Seth Rollins would get if he did something to AJ Lee with Becky Lynch to put her out for a while and have CM Punk give chase. I think that would be an interesting storyline beat. But I understand that we're getting AJ Lee and Becky Lynch for the Intercontinental Championship, so we'll see where they decide to have that match, be it Crown Jewel, or if they decide to hold off on that and push that to Survivor Series. Remember, we've only got 3 weeks from last night to the October 18th or so, 17th or 18th PLE Crown Jewel, so we don't have a lot of time for build-up. And I know they're going to have at least 5 matches, probably 5 matches here, and 2 of them have already been announced, Stephanie Vaquer and Tiffany Stratton. And we'll talk about the next match for Crown Jewel right now, because we're going to talk about the undisputed WWE Championship match in which Cody Rhodes defeated Drew McIntyre. I think a lot of people on the internet got worked up with these fantasy booking ideas and theories, so they were highly disappointed by this match. I thought this was a very standard main event as well. I didn't think this was like a mind-blowing thing. I love Drew McIntyre, and I feel like he needs to get his flowers sooner rather than later, but I didn't expect that to happen in this event. Cody Rhodes gets his revenge. It's a tale old as time with professional wrestling, especially WWE booking. The most hated does something to the fan favorite to put the fan favorite out for weeks. The fan favorite returns, beats the most hated, and celebrates in the ring to close out the show. Tale old as time. I've been watching this thing for way too long. I saw it before it ended. It's fine. Sometimes we don't need to be surprised all the time, guys. Sometimes we don't have to have a shock ending all the time, guys. Like, I understand it. I get it. Wrestling being, we're inundated with professional wrestling all the time. We get all types of different booking. We get all types of finishes. We want something to shock us. We want a surprise appearance. We want a surprise finish. We want a title change. We want all these things, and I totally get it, guys. Just understand that sometimes things have to play out. It's like we want short-term booking, and at the same time, we want long-term booking. We have to understand. I'm not here defending Paul Levesque's booking of this match at all, but we have to understand that sometimes things just need to play out. And I know I want Drew McIntyre to win a world championship yesterday, okay? I want that for him. I think he deserves it. but there's got to be a time and a place. And if you hot shot the title on Drew McIntyre and then put him in the ring with Seth Rollins at Crown Jewel, well, now you got two most hateds in the ring at the same time here. You got to think about stuff like that. They're booking on the fly most of the time, it seems like, and they've got to make sure that they have that space to get these matches off that they want to get off. You know, I mean, pause. First time I think I've ever said pause on a YouTube video. But so you got to understand that the match was fine. It played out. It hit all the story beats that was necessary. It gave you the drama. Even though the outcome wasn't in question, Drew McIntyre played his role perfectly, in my opinion. The guy needs his flowers. He really does. Cody Rhodes winning here is the right move, in my opinion. And I think so. You've had CM Punk and Drew McIntyre feuding. Now CM Punk is moving over to Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins has had a feud with Cody Rhodes before. They're going to have their match at Crown Jewel for the Crown Jewel Championship in Perth. Drew McIntyre is feuding with Cody Rhodes. CM Punk is feuding with Seth Rollins. Now Seth Rollins is going to go fight Cody Rhodes. CM Punk and Drew McIntyre will never be done with their feud. You've got those four men that have been crossing the guard as far as storyline is going. You put those guys in War Games. You add Brock Lesnar. You add the other members of the Vision. You add the Usos and LA Knight, or Jey Uso and Roman Reigns, or Roman Reigns and LA Knight. It's like any different option and version can lead to a logically built War Games. I'm going to end it on there, you guys, because I could talk about War Games all night. I should do another video about it, to be honest with you, but I'm not. I'm going to just leave it there. As far as the PLE goes, yes, it wasn't a blow-away extravaganza that we were promised and whatnot, and I get that, but this is something that the WWE typically does with their big debuts. We're left kind of feeling like there should be more, and then they give us more later. You know, they're playing with our emotions, but they're dragging us along on a ride. This is just the type of booking that they've decided to do over the years, and look, I adapt. I'm used to it. There wasn't anything that was offensive here. There wasn't anything that I felt like was really, really bad, and so for that, I got to give it a passing grade. Now, there's a couple of things that I would recommend to go out and check out if you haven't seen the PLE and you just wanted to check out the spoilers on this review. Io Sky and Stephanie Vaquer, the Bronze and the Usos, CM Punk, AJ Lee, and Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch. Go out of your way to check those out and watch clips of all the other stuff. All right, this is the Wrestling Old Head coming out of the portal of pro wrestling. Thanks for listening. If you have any comments about my review, or if you want to drop some of your opinions on the show overall, what you think about the theory of the War Games, etc., go ahead and leave it down below in the comment section. And thumbs up on the way out, you guys. Hit the notification bell as always. This is the Wrestling Old Head letting you know. Stay tuned for more.